So welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today we're getting into a really fascinating book, Lori Gottlieb's memoir, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. Our mission here, like always, is to really pull apart the key ideas, the big insights, so you walk away feeling like you've got a solid handle on it.
Yeah, and I think what's really special about this one is Gottlieb's position. She gives us this incredible view from, well, both sides of the therapy room. You know, she's the experienced therapist, but then she's also the patient dealing with her own crisis. It's this great mix memoir, psychology insight, mental health talk, came out in 2019.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. The core idea, the structure, is pretty clever. She has these two main threads running through the book. Like, on one hand, there's Lori, the therapist, working with her clients, right? And then almost startlingly, you get Lori, the patient, who's suddenly needing help herself. Very human.
Exactly. And as the therapist, she brings us into the lives of some really compelling people, each facing these deep, relatable struggles. There's John, you know, this big shot TV producer, but it's got this grief he hasn't dealt with. Then Julie, gosh, her story. A newlywed diagnosed with a terminal illness. It's incredibly moving, really makes you think about life. And Rita, an older woman thinking about suicide, Charlotte, younger, kind of stuck in these repeating bad patterns. But then, like you said, the script flips. Lori goes through this really rough breakup and it just floors her. So she starts seeing a therapist, Wendell, and we get to watch her whole process, confronting her own, denial, how we all kind of shield ourselves from tough truths sometimes, and then moving towards that raw vulnerability that you really need for real change. It's a fascinating look at tackling loss and figuring out your identity again.
Mm-hmm. And it's that honesty, isn't it? Showing herself struggling just like her patients.
Yeah.
That really lets her get into some really profound truths about just being human. What were some of the main themes that really jumped out for you?
Well, probably the biggest takeaway, maybe the most freeing one, is this idea that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's just part of being human for everyone. By showing her own stuff, Gottlieb just shatters that image of the therapist who has it all figured out. It builds this instant connection, reminds us that healing really starts when we admit we're all in this together, basically.
That's such a crucial point. We all feel that pressure to seem like we've got it all together. And it kind of ties directly into another theme you mentioned, right? About the stories we tell ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. The book is brilliant on this. It shows how we all build these narratives about our lives. And often they're not quite complete, or maybe they're a bit skewed, to protect ourselves. Therapy, the way she presents it, becomes this process of kind of editing those stories, rewriting them with more honesty, and importantly, with compassion.
Yeah.
She has that fantastic quote in there.
Oh, the one about change.
Yes. We can't have change without loss, which is why so often people say they want change, but stay exactly the same. Wow. It just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? Makes you think, okay, what's my story?
It really does hit home. So how does she show people actually doing that rewriting? It's one thing to know this story is flawed, but overcoming that resistance to change,
Right.
that's the hard part, right?
Right. And she doesn't give you like a 5-step plan. It's more about observing the process. She shows really vividly that change isn't neat. It's messy. People fight it. Her patients, and yeah, even Lori herself, they show that classic reluctance we all have, to really face the painful stuff or take responsibility. But the breakthroughs, those moments where things click, they happen when people finally turn towards what they've been, running from. It's about facing the discomfort, I guess.
And woven into all that personal struggle is this deep look at the big stuff. Grief, love, finding meaning. It's way more than just a book about therapy sessions.
It absolutely is. Through all these stories, her patients, her own, it tackles these huge universal themes. Mortality, heartbreak, betrayal, what makes life worthwhile. Julie's story, again, is just such a powerful lens on that. Facing the end, with such awareness, it forces you to ask, what really counts? And ultimately, what holds it all together is the power of connection. That's what therapy is, really. It's about feeling seen, heard, understood. And that relationship she builds with her therapist, Wendell, it becomes this amazing model of a healthy, healing connection. It's got warmth, wisdom, but also that gentle challenging you need to actually grow.
Yeah.
It's often in those relationships that we learn how to relate differently to ourselves, too.
Yeah, and the way she writes about it all. That's another thing that makes it work so well. It feels so real. It's funny sometimes. It's deeply emotional. It's conversational. She balances the psych insights with just great storytelling. Makes it all feel very approachable.
Totally. And using those anonymized real therapy sessions that add so much weight and relatability. You see yourself in those moments.
Definitely. And the tone shifts so much too. You can be laughing one minute and then Wow, really feeling something deep the next.
That range is key. It makes it engaging, sure, but also genuinely moving.
Exactly. And I think that combination is why the book really stands out. You just don't often get that dual perspective, seeing both sides so clearly. It does a fantastic job of humanizing mental health, makes therapy feel normal, necessary even, not something weird or shameful. The patient stories stick with you. They're so rich. And maybe the best part is how it makes you reflect. You read it and you start thinking about your own patterns, your own emotional blocks. It's quite personal, actually.
So let's talk about who this book is really for. If you're listening and wondering, should I read this? Well, the audience is pretty wide, I think. If you're already into books exploring the human mind, maybe stuff like Viktor Frankl or When Breath Becomes Air, this is a really compassionate, relatable edition. It's definitely perfect if you've ever been curious about therapy, but maybe a bit nervous to, actually go. It gives you that peek behind the curtain. Right. Or if you just enjoy memoirs about growth, about figuring things out emotionally.
And even for mental health pros, I imagine it's quite validating and reflective.
Absolutely. Now, while we loved it, it's fair to mention a couple of things. If you're looking for hardcore clinical analysis or research data, this leans much more towards story. And the way it jumps between her therapy sessions and her patients, it's powerful, but maybe feels a little less structured than a typical self-help book.
Good point. And maybe, just maybe, if someone's going through really intense grief or trauma right now, the emotional depth might be a bit much, though ultimately it does feel hopeful.
Yeah, definitely hopeful. So our final take, it's a solid 5 out of 5 stars. Easily. It's smart. It's incredibly moving. It's vulnerable, funny, kind. It just hits on so many levels. Whether you're in therapy, thinking about it, or just curious about people, this book really can shift your perspective. It touches the heart.
Wow, yeah. A really powerful deep dive into a book that clearly makes an impact. Lori Gottlieb definitely shows us that, facing our own stories takes guts. But it's that journey, isn't it, that leads to real understanding, real healing.
It does, and it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? What does it really mean to keep exploring, keep trying to understand ourselves and others? That journey of figuring things out, it's ongoing, isn't it? Never really done.
Exactly. Definitely something to keep mulling over. All right, that wraps up this deep dive. If you enjoyed this discussion, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, maybe share it with someone else who'd find it interesting, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this one. Thanks for listening.